Is it okay?
Ok.
Vale.
È tutto bene?
Tutto bene.
Vale. Why taking that novel and making a film with it today?
I think that there are two very important reasons, if not three. The first is that it deals with the subject of immortality, which is possibly every human's secret wish, to be able to transcend the lifetime that they seem to be allotted on Earth. Second, it's the story of somebody who is first a man and then a woman. So it's an opportunity to look at life from both sides of what's thought of as a divide that is impossible to cross. Thirdly, the scale of the book in images, the way it's written, covering such an extraordinary territory of imagery, made it a very inspiring piece of work to adapt.
Wasn't it a very heavy weight to carry on, to coming from a novel which is written by Ginewald?
Yes.
How did you manage that?
By deciding to be ruthless and meticulous in trying to find the essence of the book and taking that into the essence of cinema, rather than really trying to be too faithful to every detail in the book. For example, I edited out some characters, I changed the story at certain places, I changed the ending. I cut most of the references to literature, there's some in there, in order to really bring, let's say, Virginia Woolf's vision, or what I saw as being her vision at the center of the book, into 1992 and beyond. That took a lot of drafts of the script. It was a lot of writing and rewriting. And of course it's difficult to deal with such a classic, such a respected classic of literature as that. But it's very different than her other books, because she wrote it, she says in her diaries, she wrote it to exteriorize the inner landscape, the imagination. She was trying to make images for the first time and not just explore ideas through language.
There are 5 countries on the production team,
Yeah.
or whatever. So for me, it means that it is a novel that it has been read in many places, and it's very important in many places.
Because I think there's something universal at the heart of it. The feeling of wanting to be outside of history, above it, like an angel watching. These generations and generations make mistakes and make the same mistakes and learn gradually. And because it's the story of a country, it's not just an individual, but through that individual it's the story of the end of the British Empire. Great, a cause for celebration. But now with everything, with empires crumbling, the end of the Russian Empire shifting, all the territories shifting, national boundaries going up, terrible issues of nationalism coming up in Europe and in Eastern Europe, then that story of a nation, that story of a country losing itself and finding itself, I think, is common to everyone. And of course the story of men and women, what is a man, what is a woman, that's universal.
You've said on the press conference, and maybe, I don't know if it also on the book and the catalog or whatever you call it, that something like speaking about individuals, instead of speaking about a man or a woman, you're trying to speak about an individual. And isn't it the same in a way? I mean, being a man or a woman, whatever you are, and being an individual. I mean, do you really believe that there's a big difference inside? I mean, one thing is only the surface, but inside this, I think, really different. Or I wonder if the inside is very related to what is the surface.
I think the inside, men and women, are very similar. I think that we're human beings, and often trapped in an illusion of difference because of the way that we've been educated or trained, or both emotionally and with ideas and so on, since very early times in our lives. And I think the reality is we have much more in common than we have different. And that the real, if you like, the true relationship of men and women is to be friends. The opposite often appears to be the case, because men are trained to be the agents of the oppression on the women, and women are trained to be dependent in a certain kind of way, or mothers mistreat their sons. I mean, it's a chaotic situation in which there's a lot of illusion everywhere. The assumption that we're on earth together to be friends and allies for each other, this is such a liberating way of feeling and thinking, and it makes all relationships possible then.
But what's the problem of being different, of accepting the difference?
That can include accepting the differences, but not using the differences as an excuse to divide and to make like a war, or to make an excuse for women having limitations put on their lives, or men not being able to express their feelings, for example. All those are given the excuse of biological difference. Now that's different than accepting difference. Liberation isn't about making everybody into a grey, indistinguishable mass. Neither men nor women, nor black and white, nor Jews and Gentiles, nor any other difference that one can think of. It has to be a celebration of the difference, but not as an excuse to divide.
It is said on the movie something like, giving up the past, your life is able to begin.
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
I think that a child, before he or she gets very hurt by the world and the problems in the world and oppressions and so on, lives very, very much in the present, approaching each new situation as if it was a fresh and extraordinary event, which it is. A magical event, this moment now in time, this moment, this moment. And that as we become more adult, we forget that, and we start to bring with us our past like a rock on our back that's making us see each situation. Oh yeah, I've seen that before, or bringing actually not a fresh response. And in that sense, I think that for an individual, when you give up your past, whether it's giving up the accident of what class background you were born into, or giving up the fact that you were very hurt in a certain way as a child, that was the past. Now it's the present. People don't have to be determined by their past. Neither does a country have to repeat its mistakes over and over again through the centuries. So that's what I mean about if you're really coming into the present, your life is really beginning, you can't be living in the past. You can learn from it, but not bringing it with you like a burden.
How does your past as choreographer affect the way you approach film?
I can't help but see people in space in relation to the frame. Because of course when you're choreographing, you're working with the human body, but you're also working with an abstraction of a human body. So in a very practical way, for example, where I'm putting the camera and where I'm putting the actor, where I'm asking them to be, where I'm asking them to walk, what shape that makes, where the camera moves in relation to where they're going. I'm kind of aware of the choreography of the camera and of the actor at all times, but not particularly consciously. I think it's just in my training. It's in my way of seeing.
There are many moments in the movie, I mean, I don't know how many, but many, when Tilda moves and kind of look at us, trying to get us from, I don't know, from her point of view, or maybe from getting some distance from what we were saying. Why is that so?
I wanted to find a cinematic equivalent of something which is done in the book, which is a direct connection with the reader of the book. And is also like a kind of access into an interior world. It's like a sort of monologue, but in the book they're very long, the monologues. And what I wanted to find in the film was a very, very economical way of making that direct connection with the audience or with ourselves. If we each think of ourselves as Orlando, it's sort of like looking in a mirror or acknowledging the relationship. And also, I think, to take it away from being, in quotes, a sort of period film, a spectacle which we, the audience, just sit and look at, but rather to make a connection across, out. And of course, Brecht would call something like that distanciation. But I think cinematically it's not distanciation, I think it's connection. And that's what I wanted to make.
The last question is about a woman being a director. I think that for a long time we've seen films and films made by women. And I'm very, very pleased to see that now we are getting in our way that we are going to see films made by women and films made by men. And that's, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about being a woman in this media that seems to be very man?
Well, when I'm working, when I'm directing, when I'm writing, I don't feel like a woman or a man. I just feel like a director or a writer. And I think that I only start to feel like a woman, in quotes, when maybe I have a difficulty or a struggle to raise some money, or I feel that people aren't seeing me clearly as an artist, they're seeing this kind of female figure, and that's stopping them from seeing something else that I'm wanting to give. But when I'm actually working, I have no problems as a woman. I mean, I had a wonderful crew. I was working with a cameraman and male designers and some female crew, a whole mixture. And I had really no problems as a female. The only difficulties that I've had, I think I haven't made as many films as I would like. It was a big struggle to raise the money for this film. It's been a big struggle up to now, generally. And I would like to be, I'm ready to be much, much more productive than I've been able to be.
But do you agree with me that it's true that when you see a movie, you can feel, in a way, who has done it?
You feel, if it works, the film, if it's really working, I think you have an access into the, I'm hesitant to use the word, but soul of the person that's making it, rather than their body. So I would identify with the soul of a film made by a male director just as much, if it was the right film, just as much than if it was made by a female director. I think there's something that, about any work, I'm sure any artist would say that actually, that really transcends whether you're male or female. You're giving something out into the world, and if other people can make it their own, it doesn't really matter where it came from, it's the same source. It's like the words at the end of the film, in the song. Neither a woman nor a man, we're joined, we're one with a human face. I'm being born and I'm dying. It's the paradoxes, it's the essential essence behind all the appearances.
Okay, for me that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.